episode of Read, Watch, and Wine. This is Treva.
Lynn.
Rhea.
Champagne.
And today we're going to talk about the book-to-movie adaptation of Turning of the Screw.
Book to movies.
Book-to-movies. So...
Why?
There are so many adaptations of this book.
Mm-hmm.
So this book was written by Henry James in what year?
Oh, I had that. Wasn't it like 1916 or something? In 18...
Let me pull up my handy dandy spreadsheet.
Okay.
1898.
I was close.
Wow.
Over 100 years
Yeah, 100 years ago.
It was like it.
Well, no wonder there were so many adaptations, because there is a 1961 version, a 1974 version, a 1971, 1990, 2009, and I think the BBC did. And then, of course,
61.
2020 version. So we didn't have an opportunity to watch all of the adaptations, but we did watch a couple.
Few.
And so I guess we can talk about some of the ones that we watched. But, I mean, overall for me, and I'm just curious for you all, no matter which movie I watched and the book that I read, I still don't understand.
Before you get started, I'm going to talk about this wine because I feel like we need to before we get started.
That's a good idea.
I've already started with that.
We are drinking Faisal. It is a Portuguese green wine, of course, from Portugal. And it's my favorite. I love Portuguese green wine, so... Yeah.
Is that when you were in Portugal?
Not this brand, but anytime I would drink Portuguese green wine, it brings me back to my time in Portugal.
Oh, how long were you there?
I was there for 2 weeks.
Okay. I bet that was fun.
It was a great graduation present. I loved it.
Okay, so let's jump right into it.
Yeah, I'm going to jump into this bottle of drinking it before we talk
drink
about
the bottle,
this because
and let's just start with the confusing book. So I read the book.
Can I apologize now to people listening, because I really need some crackers with the wine. I need to drink something, so...
They're going to hear you crunching?
A little bit.
Okay.
Some people pay for that, so it's okay.
Right.
You're very true.
And talk real slow.
While crunching.
And
get paid thousands.
it's like...
So, okay, back to the book. So I read the book. You know, it was interesting reading it in the language because, of course, it was written so long ago, so I had to adapt to that. But I finished the book and really don't understand what I read. How did you guys feel after reading the book? I'm just curious.
Literally the same way. I felt like I literally did not take in one fact. I mean, the storyline, yeah, because I kind of read the synopsis on the back. But from actually reading the book, I felt like I had literally just accomplished nothing in my life.
Right. Did you have to reread pages over and over again?
Yeah, I thought I dozed off for a minute at one point because I was like, okay, I had to miss something.
I kept going back like, wait, how did we get there?
I missed something. So yeah, I felt the same way.
Okay.
I had a little bit of a deeper connection with the book.
Explain that.
Because I really connected with how someone can really make you go wacko.
Really?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't understand the book enough to know that somebody was going wacko. So
That is a good point. Me either.
It's the turning of her. That's the whole point.
Of who? See,
Of who?
my thing is,
There's supposed to be a screw in there, I thought.
but I didn't understand who was
all
being
I'm thinking
insane.
is a
I thought
screwdriver
the
at this
kids
point.
were like insane at first, little ghosts, like possessed children. And then I realized it was her. Then I was like, are they possessed, making her crazy? I got so confused.
The ghosts were going through the children to make her crazy. Because the goal is...
after watching 5 movies, but I didn't get it from the book.
I got it from the book.
I did not. I was so lost.
Just, the ghosts wanted to keep the kids all to themselves, and that's why they turned everybody crazy that came to, deal with them. However, I don't understand
Miss Gross?
why Miss Gross wasn't crazy.
Or was she?
They didn't.
Well, she was allowing the kids to do whatever they wanted to because they were entitled children.
Exactly.
So maybe she was still giving the ghosts what they wanted.
Right.
Versus trying to change them.
That's true. They weren't trying to take them away.
And all that, so.
She wasn't trying to get them out of the house away to the real world.
And I kind of got that probably the third movie in.
Yeah, I got none of that reading the book.
Yeah, only the last one, which was the last one I watched, which was the Innocence. At the end is when I kind of got, okay, so they were possessed. That's why the little boy died. Because the demon that left and his little heart just gave out. So that's where I'm at.
But he drowned.
No, not in The Innocence.
He drowned in a dark place.
Yeah.
Well, now they're all running together right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna keep looking at this one.
So the dark place, in a dark place, that was what, the 2006 version of the movie. So I'm thinking because it's in the year 2000, this is going to make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I watched it. I was even more, that was the first one that I watched.
Yeah,
and I was
me
even
too.
more confused after watching that adaptation.
Especially the
Same.
end with the
I just
brown
felt like
faces.
the quality of the movie should have been a little bit better in 2006.
Yeah.
Oh, I think back to what other movies came out in 2006, and I'm like, whoa, maybe they started this in like 1985, and they just didn't get enough money to put it out until 2006 because I was like, really?
It was.
But I was thinking that was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the blink, 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 blink.
If you're losing your mind, you're gonna be doing that blinking.
blink, blink. I guess so, but whoo.
But I after the first one, I'm sorry, actually after every single one of them, nothing connected. All I understood was where the kids got possessed by the ghosts and made her crazy, the governess. But I didn't understand why. I didn't understand why there were other adults, like why the ghost was the horse trainer and why he stayed, and then the affair that he had with the other governess that were there before, and who was in love, and then in a dark place, why was the new governess sleeping with like the house
Miss Gross.
Gross. I just was like,
Which was
there's
gross.
so many connections. I'm so
Especially
lost.
When Miss Gross was old, is supposed to be old and everything else.
Right, and so in a dark place, she wasn't old, and they're having an affair.
Right.
And then when I read the book, I'm picturing this older lady.
Yes.
And then in the new 2020 version, she's like this older woman.
She looks like dead.
Right. She did look partially
I was like,
dead.
is she possessed?
Right. Or is she a ghost?
Exactly. She's not real.
But she was perfect. Like, she's actually what I imagined.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When I
she
read the
is.
book.
Yeah.
The young, sleek, businesswoman that was in the 2006 version was not who I envisioned at all.
Not at all.
So I'm curious, in the other versions that you all watched, because I know y'all watched more versions, was Mrs. Gross a younger or older woman?
Old.
She was older.
Yeah.
The only one she was young in was In a Dark Place.
Oh, okay.
The Innocence was older.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, The Turning was older.
I felt like they went to a dark place for that part, for that version.
But Jane.
So let me ask you another question. There were 2 kids in every version?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But you
That
didn't
was
think it
consistent.
was at first because they didn't mention, especially in the Turning, the 2020 version, they didn't mention the little boy until she actually got there. Mm-hmm. She was like, wait, it's 2 of them. Because the little
Because
boy
he was away
away
in
in
boarding
boarding
He wasn't supposed to be home.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. Their thought process was she wasn't going to be watching him.
Right.
But each one, the little boy got kicked out of school somehow
Yes.
and had to come back home.
Right.
Yes.
And then I noticed the difference in A Dark Place and in the 2020 version, and of course in the book, why the kids were alone. Because at one point it was the father wanted them there. In A Dark Place, wasn't it the father?
Uncle.
The uncle.
The uncle
The
that wanted
uncle, the
them
one
It was
who left them because
consistently
their
the
parents
uncle.
died.
Their parents died.
Yeah.
Okay, but in the 2020 version,
Yeah, same thing.
that Miss Gross kept saying, "I'm the only one they have. I'm the only one. I've just taken care of them." Like she made it seem like there was no one else there. So
Right.
I didn't catch our uncle in the 2020 version.
I took it as in
I may have
the
just
uncle was
assumed it.
so
Me
busy
too.
that she was the only one providing for them.
Right,
Okay.
because you
Caring
was
for
not allowed to contact him for whatever
Yes.
reason.
But in
Always.
the most recent version, they didn't have any of that dialogue about don't contact him.
No, yeah.
So
That's
you're
why I
right.
was
If I wouldn't have
confused.
known the story, I would have
Right.
not. I would have assumed she was like
The-
the caregiver
yeah.
of them because they had no one else.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the older versions had the uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The innocence. And okay.
In the
All right.
Innocence, the uncle was actually talked more, did
He
more.
did. Yeah.
Was actually involved with interviewing the governess versus In a Dark Place. It was kind of like, she'll do. She has great legs and great boobs. It's in there.
Basically.
And I was like, what does her leg have to do with anything?
Right.
So this is interesting because in the book, I felt a hint of like sexiness a little bit, but and then in a movie they were bouncing around like in the dark place. She had this affair, and of course I felt like she was half naked or
Yeah,
in a
she was.
robe or something throughout the whole.
Boobs are always out.
Ridiculous.
Why are you in front of the mirror, like the window with your boobs out, waving bye to
Right.
the kids?
Right.
So I was just trying to figure out that piece. Like,
I mean, Lisa
honest-
Besky has great boobs and all, but we don't need to see that.
I honestly think, to be honest with you, it is the sign of the times. You know, that's what they were making women do to get on screen. You got to flash.
2006.
You got to flash. If you think back to all of the stuff that's now evolving from like the Me Too movement, like that's what they had to do back then because that
Touche.
absolutely had nothing to do with it. But it's obvious that sold.
Touche.
So I don't know. Can I tell you something that I thought was so funny in the movie?
which movie?
Even though, like, you know, certain people were screaming
Which
and jumping
movie?
and hollering every 2 seconds because, you know, of course, there were kids in the background.
Which
Pick
movie
one of
is
the
this?
5.
The 2020 version?
The one at the theaters now, 2020. Her and her freaking koi fish.
I swear to God.
Like, seriously, you got a whole freaking pond.
She
full
said
of
that's
fish.
my
That's my favorite one.
How do
You
know
can't
the
tell which one's the
difference?
real one.
How do you know
Sorry.
the difference? There's 100 of them in there.
Maybe he was more orange, but the one that she got wasn't more orange.
No.
I don't know. I was thinking maybe the fish was going to come back out because that would have been a little bit more exciting to me. If after being eaten its guts out, then she saw the fish coming after her. Because the rest of this was just
It
like,
really was.
help
Yeah.
me.
What is the point of the coin?
You know,
Or the maze. Like, I don't even get the point of, what's the point of going through this maze and all this? Like,
Gonna
are
get
you going
lost
to
in
have
it.
somebody get lost in there?
Exactly.
Because she made that comment, you can get lost in it, and then I'm thinking, okay, she's gonna get lost in
Yeah,
this
of
maze.
course.
It's like,
Right.
yes, some suspense.
something.
No. You just kind of rode the horse through there.
Pretty much. It was
Stupid.
very strange.
And honestly, I'm not trying to be funny. What freaking nanny's gonna let one little kid teach them how to ride a horse and keep whipping the horse while I'm on it? Boy, I'd have strangled you.
There's sit your butt down.
That was so freaking
That I
bad.
don't understand why she let happen. Like,
Exactly. But on top of that, so I remember in the preview of this movie where Miles, who played by Finn
Wolfhard.
he was laying on the ground and a big spider came out of his mouth. You
Yeah.
remember that? It wasn't in the movie at all.
He just was playing with a spider on his hand.
And that thing popped out, and that was it. The big spider, or whatever, popped out. And
Exactly.
that was it. So I was like, okay, why
Oh,
did
so
they
that
take
was, that was
They took
probably
it out.
cut from the original.
Right, but why advertising? Because there was advertising before the movie came out. The whole
so you're
time.
saying in the trailer there was something with a
I
spider
was
coming out of his
bracing
mouth?
myself because I'm terrified.
Because in the,
Spiders.
remember, there was a scene where she saw the spider, like she was dreaming or something, and she saw the spiders, but I don't recall any
Him laying on the
scene where
ground.
he laid on the ground and that big huge spider came
Came out
out.
of his mouth.
So that was
Right.
like a editing mess up because
Yeah.
they used that. You're right on the
Exactly, they
preview.
used that.
But that's how we got
it's
to the movie
kinda-
theater.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up, I was bracing myself for it. So I was glad that it didn't happen, but just weird that they would advertise that part.
And I think it probably had a lot more to do with the story at some point because I felt like there were a lot of references to the
spiders.
spider in the story. Mm-hmm. At one point, I thought maybe the guy was somehow transforming himself from ghost figure in the mirror to the spider because the two times that she saw the guy go into the room, next thing you know, he's playing with a spider. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, maybe he was turning into the spider.
That's
And then when
creepy.
he was in the room, remember when she was in the room sleeping?
She's taking it to another level.
Yeah, she is.
Go ahead.
Remember when she was
I'm
in the
really
room?
good,
Keep thank you, Lynn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She's in the
I'm
room
real
sleeping, and the guy was in there with her, and then of course Miles with his cuckoo self walks in there, and boom, there's another spider. So I feel like the spirit was turning from this other life force into a spider.
Was he turning?
Turning counterclockwise.
Oh my god. I do feel like the spider references, the small ones that happened in the movie, like it didn't amount to anything. It was definitely some editing issues, like you guys said, because why even put so many of those in there if it was nothing? Like spiders needed to come out of at least a woman's brain in the water or something.
Well,
right?
I also think some of the hand things, like remember when the
There's a
hands were
lot
crawling
more
all over her?
than that, yeah.
That was kind of spider-ish. So I mean, I don't know.
But whose
Maybe that
hand
was the
it?
turning.
I think it was the hand of. It could have been him.
Quint. Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
That's
I was like, I don't know whose hand it
Because she had just
They
read
made
something
it-
in the book about him
Being a
touching all
pervert,
over
yeah.
the
other
other.
girl.
Yeah.
What was it? Jessie?
Miss Jessel.
Miss Jessel.
Yo, I screamed my butt off.
Yeah, we heard.
Really? So I think they just
When did you scream?
Sorry.
in the first
About every
moment-
2 minutes.
No, just that one part where she first realized, I guess, she's seeing stuff, and when she went to close
Can
the
you
window.
elaborate on that? The she and stuff is just not very enthusiastic right now.
Because it took me back to that particular moment where I was freaking out when the governess went into, I guess, Flora's room and she was closing the window. Remember the picture of the Miss Jessel did popped up.
So that's Kate. Kate in the movie.
Oh yeah, it was in that movie. She didn't have a name in that movie.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Like, so she had a different name in every movie.
Not in the Innocents, right?
So the Innocents, they referred to her as the governess.
She didn't have a name at all.
Yes,
So
correct.
that was more like the book then.
Yeah.
Actually, it was more like the book. The Innocents was more.
Was a better adaptation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. If I had been able to go back to see the original,
Yeah.
it probably would have been better.
I wanted to see the original first, but then there was so many to watch that I was like, I'm just gonna start binging these things.
Well, that's what I was thinking. If each one of us kind of pick and choose, instead of all of us trying to get through all of those movies.
Well, Lynn almost did.
Of course she did.
I got 3 of the 5.
She's
I couldn't find the
overachiever.
Nightcomers and the
Presence of Mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little.
I think those were
after
burned at the
watching
stake.
like 3, I was pretty much done.
Right. Because if you watch 3 and you still don't understand it, then you can't torture yourself anymore.
No,
I literally had so confused
I
written
understood
on my
it.
paper.
I just feel like I understood it. It's just a little weird. I didn't get the ending of that last one. I don't.
2020 is the worst.
What was the ending? She was in a pool or something and she saw something,
She saw her
turned around.
mom.
First of all, there's 2 kind of weirdo endings. Like, I couldn't figure out if she was really asleep or they restarted her back in her dream. Because remember, she got them, hey, we got away. And then all of a sudden, and then she's back there again.
And she's looking at one of the drawings that her mom made, and it was like she was creating that story, looking at the drawing. I'm telling you,
so blown
nothing made sense to me.
I thought they got away.
I did too.
Yeah.
Which would have been completely different from the movie, but at least it would have been something worth talking about.
And I would have smacked Mrs. Gross when she said, well, I hope when she was talking about her mom, when she said, I hope you're not like your mom or something. She looked there, I was like, I would have slapped her.
I wasn't a big fan of how much older Miles was in the turning versus the rest of them.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Like the Innocents, he was like 6, and then in a dark place, it was
like
like
they're the same age
a little
almost.
older, maybe like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And then I felt like he was like 15, 16, and like the
Well, and also because in the book, like, she couldn't believe certain things that he was being accused of. She's like, oh, he's so little, how can you accuse him? Well, Miles, in the 2020 version, is old enough he can be accused of just about anything.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay.
I mean, he was already hitting on the governess, which was weird, and
Right.
the Innocents when he went to go kiss her, and I was like, what? It's a 7-year-old.
Right.
Ew. And then when he was 15, I was like, all right, I kind of get it, but it still just didn't flow for me.
They kept using the same word to describe him in every movie, which is enchanting or something.
Who, Miles?
Describing all the kids, both kids,
Oh.
yeah.
That's because
Are
they
they
were
enchanting?
they were haunted.
Yeah.
So, in A Dark Place, I thought Miles was very innocent acting. He was little. But
Yeah.
He was more innocent in
Yeah,
that one versus the rest of them.
Because he was younger.
Yeah.
But
I
he
mean,
was
because
so
I wanted to
possessed.
cry when he was in the water. He's like struggling, and she's
Yeah.
like, "It's okay, it's okay. I'm saving you." He's like,
I literally didn't understand
I didn't
as that was
understand.
happening.
I don't
Yeah.
think he was reaching to be saved, though. He was going under.
He wanted to he was trying to get away from her, but she wanted him. I felt like she wanted him to die. That was the only way he was going to be free. And that's what
Yeah.
I gathered.
I
from
think
the
that
ending.
I think
Right.
she just started turning at that point. She went to save him, and then everything started just all blending together.
Because I mean, she was like hugging him and like, say his name, say his name, say Quint. And when he said Quint,
So he can go away.
she was like, oh, he's free. But then she realized that he really wasn't free. So I was like, oh, well, saying his name didn't work. So let me just drown this kid in the pond. Didn't quite understand how that correlated.
She didn't
but-
drown him.
Well,
he drowned his damn self.
You are literally there to care for
hanging
them.
on the tree. I
didn't
thought he was
save
trying to
him.
get away from
She
him.
was trying to get him, and
That's
he was trying to
intentionally
get away
drowning
from her.
also. Because if you ain't reach your hand
Yeah.
out, he'll
You
save
ain't
a
save
kid.
him,
You
why
But he
She
wasn't
saved-
reaching for her to save him. He was still trying to go
her
murder.
as an adult.
Well, by then her face was.
Yeah, but she turned into a different picture.
Turned
face.
into her younger version of herself.
But I didn't
I didn't get
get
that.
that. She didn't look like him.
flashback of that. What did her younger self have to do with the adult self?
Well, what I believe happened in that part of the movie is that
Or snaps.
thank you, Lynn, snap, 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 snap. So her mom was a cuckoo. I don't mean to say that in a negative way. For the movie
She was
only.
in the swimming pool.
Her mom was, no, that was,
different movies.
that was the second one. This one, her mom had some mental
Wait, you're talking about
illness.
turning? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was back on the dark place. Continue.
No, I'm talking about the dark place, not turn.
Yeah, she was. Oh.
Remember, the mom had
You're
some
right, you're
mental
right, you're right.
challenges.
I'm sorry, I'm smishing them all together.
Yeah, so
Keep
in
going.
my mind, she has been dealing with some things since she was little.
Sorry, she looks so lost.
I watched for a minute, like, was her mom in the dark place? I don't remember her mother at all in the dark
No,
place.
her mother didn't need to be in there.
Unless
She
she was
kept,
not
just
deep.
mentioned it.
she kept
Oh,
talking
okay.
about, she kept saying, that's what I tried to tell my mother. That's what I used to tell my mom. That's what I used to tell my mom. So I'm thinking that something happened in her childhood that made her go through similar things, like a ghost or something was talking to her, and she tried to tell her mom the same things, but nobody listened to her. And so that's what was taking her back and forth, back. Now I'm back in this space, and I'm going to save you guys. I know what you're going through. I see all this.
Since she couldn't be saved?
so that she could save them because she couldn't
Herself wasn't saved.
Correct. She couldn't get anybody to believe her to save her from all the damaged things that she went through. She was going to save those kids.
And so once the kids were saved, aka dead, she became a kid again?
I don't think her intention was to come. I just think the house got to her at that point.
Yeah, they should have stuck to the book at that point, though.
The book that you understood?
No, but that's my point. I understood the book more than In the Dark Place, for sure.
I didn't understand nothing. I'm just going to be real honest about
like
it.
I said,
Nothing made sense
until
to
I watched
me.
the third one, which
I
was The
literally
Innocents.
was
Then
like,
I got it.
how did I read a book, watch 3 movies, and I'm
Watch 3.
still just as confused from 1 as I am through 4 different versions of this? I just did not understand how my life is really working out that way.
Yeah.
Because normally, I'm Brea, the overthinker, and I get it all. I got nothing. Nothing. I got just the synopsis in the back of the book, is what I got.
Well, I will say, as far as the cast is concerned, I do love Little Miles, but Miles was supposed to be a Little Miles, not a big Miles.
Correct.
Otherwise, I mean, I liked all the characters, and the new friend character that was pulled into it was nice, too. It's a nice little, add-on feature.
Oh, her girlfriend?
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah, it was a nice
imaginary
Took me a
friend.
minute.
Yeah.
Well,
Her roommate.
Yeah.
Her roommate. But to me, I mean, dude, like, you left. You were able to get away.
You were.
Why the freak did you go back?
Because that first phone call, I just don't think they like me. Her girlfriend should have came and got her.
Yeah.
Well, she said, come on back.
Right, yeah, she did.
She's the one who was like, yeah, I made it.
I'm gonna stick
with it.
Yeah. Nah, bruh.
Yeah, that wouldn't have happened. That needed to be a wrap.
And they left so much unanswered. So what happened now? After the little boy died, are you arrested? Did they think you killed? What happened? Like, I don't like being open-ended like that.
Well, nobody's ever going to know because nobody ever knew what happened to the other lady. The boy was so freaking bad, nobody's looking for him.
He's like expelled.
And the movie's 100 years old, so there's no part 2 from this author.
Yeah, true. I would have a million questions for you.
Right, I got a million questions.
Yeah.
Well, we hook up with Teresa and maybe we can find out the answer.
Teresa?
The Long Island Medium.
Caputo.
Oh my gosh, you and this Long Island Medium?
Hey, watch out now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so do we want to talk about the cast? I don't even know what cast we can talk about.
We did talk about the cast from 2020.
Finn Wolfhard was
Love
good, but too
Finn.
old.
Yeah.
I think all the other characters, like Rhea said, they all were pretty good. I mean, Flora, creepy, good job, but she was
But
a
I
little
love her name,
too.
Brooklyn Prince. I love that name.
Yeah, she's cute. She's too talkative for me in this one. Like grown versus the other ones.
Yeah.
She was still a little bit more innocent and like young-hearted, like making like the little kid jokes. Versus this one, I think she was a little too old. Like old.
Grown.
There we go.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just gonna say, In a Dark Place, I don't know. I just wasn't happy with the casting in that, specifically with Miss Gross. I mean, Tara Fitzgerald was pretty and all, but I just feel like she was the wrong person to play Miss Gross. She just needed to
I
be
just
an
don't
older.
understand why she was sleeping with Anna.
And it makes you
Anna Kate Governess,
Lily
whatever name you want to
Sobieski
pick.
is hot. I love her. She has great boobs, but why are they sleeping together?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
But did you peep out how she was acting when she thought that the woman put all those clothes out? You put all those clothes and stuff out for me?
You have a very great face structure.
And I'm like, so she was giddy from day one.
Yeah.
And then she was like, can you help me take off my clothes and get in the tub? And she was like, no.
I don't think that's
you're
a good
like
idea.
you're like 8 foot tall.
Right.
I mean, I'm like looking at the doors and I'm like, did she actually fit through that door? Because I swear to goodness, she did not walk through that door. And she's cute, but I was like, yeah, this wasn't even done to fit her height. Like the stage and everything just was weird.
Okay, so y'all ready to rate?
I am.
Okay. All right. Well, would you like to start?
No.
No?
Well, we've talked a lot, so it's not like you need a lot of commentary. This book is gonna get a sip from me, and that's it, and I'm Rhea.
I'm Lynn, and until this conversation, after 3 movies and a book, I was still just as confused, but thank you to my co-hosts for helping me stay confused and still get the sip.
Well, I'm going to give it a half glass because I just feel like I was confused with the book and also confused with the movie. That was a great adaptation. So I'm going to give it a half glass.
Can I I get a bit in empty glass?
We haven't had this conversation before.
I know, but this one should
made
be
it.
an exception.
You can't do it only to a
This
sip.
should be an exception.
We've had this conversation. Miss passionate about everything. No.
Should be an exception for this one, people. Leave it alone. Don't go to the movie. Sorry. Don't read the book. Save yourself
From being possessed.
Yes. Right. Give it a sip.
Because you will never get those hours back of your life.
Right?
All 17 movies.
You gotta get that time back.
Well, that's our rating.
Woo!
Didn't get a full glass.
Nowhere
Didn't
near it.
expect it. Got a couple sips. I've taken a few sips during this conversation.
Yeah, there's not much left in the bottle. By Dow, and it's really delicious because it's empty.